Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We're continuing our read through of Robert Jordan's The Eye of the World, book 1 of the Wheel of Time. We're up to chapter 4 entitled The Gleeman. Last chapter we ended with the gang standing around talking, Egwene, Rand, his friends, and this mysterious man came flying out of the inn. And that's sort of how the chapter ended. Well, it turns out that he is the Gleeman that they have been waiting for. And there seems to be a lot of different ideas about what this Gleeman should be doing. The people of the village seem to think he's kind of little more than a court jester who can do tricks and can juggle and breathe fire. And he has a couple run-ins. He is not impressed so far with Edmund's field because people are rude, and Nynaeve scolded him and chased him around with a plank or a piece of wood, a club. And when he found out that she was the wisdom, his response was why, at her age, she should be flirting with the young men rather than foretelling the weather and curing the sick, which is interesting. We get a little bit more there about what the wisdom does, sort of a weather teller, predictor, and then helps cure the sick. So her power and magic ability seems to be able to help cure the sick. Well, they have some different conversations, and he recognized the peddler, Padan Fane, and he said, I thought he was in there. He introduces himself to the kids who are out there, and then some adults begin coming over. My name is Tom Marilyn. And he introduces himself by saying, once a court bard, I am now indeed risen to the exalted rank of Master Gleeman. Yet my name is plain, Tom Marilyn, and Gleeman is the simple title in which I glory. He takes a bow, everyone claps, and then he begins to have conversations. They're talking about some of the things that the peddler, Padan Fane, said, and he takes a step back when it maybe gets a little heavy, the conversation, and he begins juggling, and oohs and ahs begin coming. A softer sound came from the watchers. They were astonished, and he responded, stories? I hear you want stories. He began to tell some old tales, and he's going on and having a great time, but he pauses when he sees Moraine, Lady Moraine, come into the crowd. She turned away when they sort of nod to one another, and he kind of says, I don't think you're from around here. She just says, I'm a teller of stories and a collector of stories just like you. Her guard, Lan, who's described as a wolf healing a gliding swan. So you have this fair Moraine and this sort of gruff soldier, like a wolf following a beautiful swan. More conversations happen, and then the mayor comes out, followed by Rand's father, Tam, and they've made a decision on what they're going to do for questioning the peddler. They're going to set up a watch. They're going to set some men and some riders to ride between their town and the next one, and just keep an eye on what's going on the main road, and if something were to happen, they're going to report back quickly as possible. And they feel like everything's kind of going okay when Rand's father tells him, well, Rand, it's time for us to be getting back to the farm. And Rand is surprised. We're here for Beltane Festival. What do you mean we're going now? He says, we'll be back tomorrow in plenty of time for you to speak to the mayor, plenty of time for the festival, but 5 minutes, and we need to meet at the stable. Rand's disappointed. He was looking forward to hanging out with his friends all evening and late into the night, I'm sure. But they begin heading back, just like Rand's father said, and Rand's frustrated. There's tension. He doesn't understand why did the village council even make such a big deal about these stories? They weren't proven, and if they were just going to decide to keep an eye out, why couldn't they have made that decision in the moment? Why do this whole song and dance? So he asks his father, he says, Father, I don't understand why the council had to question Padan Fane. He says, it seems to me the decision you reached could have been made right there on the spot. Without all this talk about the Aes Sedai, a false dragon, and war coming here to the two rivers. His father answers him a very wise response. He says, in essence, son, people are fickle. And if you let their minds wander freely, they're going to contrive any number of horrible things that are not likely true. He said, so what the mayor did and what we had agreed on was that we were going to plant the idea that there may be trouble And then we were going to present the solution, that we're going to keep an eye on it. That way that people's minds aren't wondering. We've set the playing field and we've set the rules. And he says, it's not that they couldn't have reached the same conclusion or that they would not have eventually, but this way we won't have the festival ruined and nobody has to spend weeks on end worrying about something that isn't likely to happen. And Rand is very impressed. He said apparently, he thought apparently being on the council was more complicated than he had originally believed. And so they keep walking for a little while when his father shocks him with a question. Did anyone besides Perrin see this strange rider? And Rand answers immediately, well, Matt did, but... And then he blinks. You believe me about the rider in black? He says, hold on, lad, don't go running off to tell the people, because he was going to turn back to town and tell his friends, my father believes me. But he said, look, I had to see it with my own eyes. And apparently only young men see this fellow, it seems, because the other fathers whose sons had talked to them also had not seen this. So Rand says, we were going to tell the mayor, but we're just worried that no one would believe us. Tam said, gray hairs don't mean our brains have curdled, so you keep a sharp eye. We're not completely dumb. We heard it, we received it, but we were thinking through it. But we're not just going to dismiss you out of hand. And man, that is a relief for Rand. He settled down just to hear that. He was surprised to realize that his steps felt lighter. The knots were gone from his shoulder. That the others believed him made all the difference. And the last sentence is, there's nothing that black cloak horseman could do to the people of Edmund's Field that they could not handle together. So that is a wonderful comfort for him. Will it be a hope? Will it be a false hope? What will happen? And we will continue along with the journey. Chapter 4, yes, chapter 4, The Gleeman, Robert Jordan's The Eye of the World. Book 1. Thank you so much for watching. Follow along with us in the discussions and like and subscribe to the channel if you're interested. We'll get you on the next chapter and then in the next episode.